I am excited to kick off today's event. Keep going, keep growing, developing yourself and your team. Sponsored by American Family Insurance. We are ecstatic to be joined by three leaders at American Family Insurance, Megan, Paula, and Rhianna. So would each of you take a couple minutes to introduce yourselves, please? We'd love to hear about your background, career journey, and what you do in your role at American Family Insurance. Megan, let's start with you. And take your mute mic off mute.
Okay, let's try again. Hi, I'm Megan Aguilar. I work out of the Madison, Wisconsin area office. I've worked for American Family for 26 years, with 24 of those years being in the information technology area. I've had many different roles throughout the organization, but I've spent the last 7 years in leadership. I'm married. I have 4 children, 2 of them in elementary school and 2 going into high school. In the fall, I'm really passionate about making a difference. And so in addition to that, I'm also a foster parent, and I mentor new foster homes as well in our community. So I'm really thankful to American Family for having the flexibility and the work-life balance, and really allow me to be my true self at work. So we focus a lot on that within our organization, and I'm super thankful for all the opportunities I've had.
Phenomenal. That is amazing. Paula, I'd love to hear from you.
Hey, well, my name is Paula Stute, and I've been an agency owner at American Family for 12 years now. I can't even believe it. But prior to that, I spent 21 years at a Sony Broadcast Company in the Fortune, in the broadcast industry, selling to corporate America and the government systems division, and in a B2B role. And I graduated from University of Maryland, with a communications degree. Go Terps. And I have 2 grown children now. My last has graduated from college and will be moving to New York City to your hood, Lachine. Woohoo. And when I'm not here with my puggle and taking care of my 85-year-old mother, I love world travel. But American Family, like you said, has made that possible. They're really a flexible organization. And during COVID, it made that, we didn't even miss a beat.
Tremendous. That is phenomenal. And Rhianna, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Hi, I'm happy to be a part of the panel today. I'm Rhianna Mcmahon. I've been with American Family Insurance for over 20 years now. I'm currently the Claims Care Center Director located in Madison, Wisconsin. I started my career with American Family a little over 22 years ago while I was in college. I was an agent assistant. And when I graduated, claims was hiring, and so I joined the claims team, and I handled claims for a few years, and was lucky enough to travel to other offices with my husband's move with his company. So I was able to stay with American Family while I worked in Missouri, Utah, and Colorado. Now I'm in Madison. I tried my hand at agency. Paul, I got to give it to you. That's a different kind of hustle. It was not for me. I learned that pretty quickly. And so I went back to claims back in 2006. So shortly after returning to claims, I had the opportunity to lead the care center, and when it was created. So I was in the claims care center, and then I moved into auto physical damage, leading a team of adjusters that handled vehicle estimates and settlements and things like that. And then I came back to the care center in a non-formal leadership title to join the policy and procedure team, where I learned more about the insurance industry and the business. Really changed my career and the trajectory of that. Then I went back to auto physical damage, and now I'm back in the care center leading the claims care center operation. So we are a 24/7 operation, and we have about 500 employees in the care center supporting all the brands within the American Family enterprise. So 100% remote. So that being said, I'm sorry if my dog makes a vocal appearance. I'm going to apologize in advance. So looking forward to today.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much. Such inspiring intros just out of the gate. So I already know this is going to leave me with the warm fuzzies by the end of it. So I would like to just remind everyone watching one more time that we will be answering questions that come directly from all of you. So please submit your questions on the Q&A, and we'll take it from there. So with all of that said, let's get started with some questions that I have for you guys. First off, in your career journey, how did you know it was the right time to make a move to a management role? Like, when did you first start seeing yourself as a leader? And what are the steps you took to get there? Rhianna, I'd love you to kick us off.
Yeah, so actually, I was adjusting claims for a number of years, for about 4 years before I went into leadership. And like I mentioned, I started in the Kansas City office and then moved to the Salt Lake City office and then the Colorado office. And so I had the opportunity to work with different team members and bring my experience to those new teams. And so really, I found kind of the urge to do something different than being an individual contributor role and try my hand at leadership. And the timing just worked out, where I came back from trying an agency role, and then the care center operation started. So there were a number of new leadership positions, and so that's how I knew the time was right for me. When I was traveling to working in the other offices and being part of different teams, I was always stepping up to try new things, take the initiative, step in when people were out of the office, and so doing those things, I think, helped with that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Paula, you have any steps you wanted to let us know you took?
Sure. So I had actually had management experience prior. I have a sales role here at American Family, and I had done it in my previous life, but I hadn't done it in the insurance industry. So I wanted to get some experience under my belt first before I dove right in and said, okay, I could tell you people what to do, right? So after I got about a couple of years in and kind of understood a little bit more about the industry, I'm like, okay, I got this. So what's important is a job posted for a district that was, let's just say it was underperforming. And I've been accused of having a lot of energy and, being pretty motivational. And so those are some of the qualities that were desperately needed in the district that I took over. So in addition, you need good speaking skills, good listening skills, good communication skills, all of those things that you would as a normal leader in management role. But so it was kind of the right fit. And the state director had indicated, when are you going to come work for me? Actually, even when I first started. So the timing was right. And I had stepped up in my previous roles and thought, I don't want to do that anymore. I've been there, done that. But at American Family, they really do promote women in management. They really want some diversity in management and their people. And so I almost felt responsibility to step up to. And so the timing was great. And I did that for several years before I went back into agency again, because that's what fun is.
Amazing. I'm loving what I'm hearing. Today we are here to talk about how to improve your self-development, so while supporting others and achieving their full potential. So let's start with the first step of self-development, becoming more self-aware and getting to know yourself better. How have you developed your self-awareness, Megan? And remember, your mic is off.
I'm so sorry.
No problem.
For me, I think it's really understanding what your personal strengths and weaknesses are, and then pushing yourself out of that comfort zone. So I can tell you, public speaking has not been something that I was comfortable with, and it still doesn't make me super comfortable, but I keep doing it. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. And so I think it's really understanding what's hard for you and pushing through that. I think for me, that's been the biggest thing that's worked.
Absolutely. Kind of get comfortable with being uncomfortable, right?
Absolutely.
Rhianna, what do you think?
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback off that, there's being comfortable with being uncomfortable. Making sure that you get honest feedback from a close peer. I've been in a number of meetings or committees or projects where you kind of walk away and you go, how was that? How did that come across? Or how did that message work? And making sure that you have someone that's a close peer that will give you that honest feedback, because really that's what you need to grow. We want to grow in our roles and within ourselves, and so getting that feedback from a peer. I've also a number of times gone back and watched recorded sessions, and you watch yourself, and it can be a little difficult at times to hear yourself speak or watch your mannerisms and things like that, but it really does help.
Absolutely. Kind of like reviewing the game tape after like a sports game kind of thing. I get that. Absolutely. So what we are going to do right now, we're going to launch a poll for the audience. We'd love to know how you all work on developing your self-awareness. So we should be getting a poll set up for you guys. And we'll give it a few seconds to see that. Poll is live. So we'd love for the audience to chime in and just kind of click away on ways that you've, personally worked on developing your self-awareness. I'm gonna give that a little bit, see what comes in first. I feel like the Jeopardy music should be playing right now. Let's see. Okay, let me see here. I should be able to find the poll. And just so you guys know, the poll will be under the stage tab. So if anyone's having trouble finding it. So evaluating personal values and feedback from peers hit number 1. That's tremendous. Definitely. I would agree with that. Absolutely. Let's see here. What is going on in the comment section there? Okay, Pam doesn't see it. That's okay. Let's see. We'll give it just a couple more seconds just to see. Feedback from managers is actually making a quick leap in the poll as well. That one was one that I used to use a lot too, kind of what they call it, managing up. But you can also do that with a peer. Yeah, no, guys, thanks so much for chiming in on that. We're going to jump back into the discussion, putting that self-awareness piece into play. What skills did you find you needed to develop most upon taking on a leadership role and moving into your career? And Paula, I'd love for you to answer that one first.
Well, for management, I think being a leader, something that I had to develop most was how to interact with each of your team members, because each of your team members, is a different personality type. Mm-hmm. And you need to find out how they can hear feedback the best, right? Because if you're trying to give them information in a way that you like to receive it, it might not be the best way they can hear it. So a lot of those personality type indicators and those little tests, or if you've ever taken classes in that, it really helps you determine, okay, I'm dealing with an analytic. I need to provide them data and say, this is where your numbers have been, this is what your goals are. So you have to kind of be a chameleon, and with each person, you need to give them what is best for them. So in management, you need to find out what motivates each person, and it is unique. Let me tell you, you might have 10 people and 10 different styles, 10 different personality styles, 10 different styles of feedback. And if you can learn to hone those skills and then become a motivator for each of those people and figure out like a connection and how to get synergy with all of those different personality types, then you can really have some magic if you can get everybody working and pulling the boat in the same direction, it's pretty cool. So that was like crucial to being successful as a manager.
Spot on, absolutely. Megan, what are your thoughts on this one?
So just to piggyback based on what Paula said, I agree with the motivation. I think for me, it's really listening. So, like you're listening, but are you multitasking? Are you reading another email? Or are you truly listening to what is being said to you? So I think that is a really important piece. And then empowering. So one of the things that I learned early on is really managing versus coaching, and really coaching and empowering your team to make the decisions on their own, spending less time talking, more time listening, and helping them to be the drivers of those versus telling teams what to, individuals or teams what to do. So I think those were big things for me that have really worked well.
Absolutely. I love the part you said, spending less time talking, more time listening. I was taught a while ago that you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So definitely spot on with that one. So moving along, to grow, you need to understand your strengths and blind spots. Any suggestions on how to do that self-assessment? Like, are there leadership characteristics that you're still working on developing? And
I'll go with this one. Like I said, Socrates said, know thyself. That way there's no surprises. And again, in sales, we've always had to do these personality type indicators, find out who you are, what your strengths and weaknesses are, or who you are as a person. And, I find the more mature I become in age, I'm pretty blunt. I was brought up in the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty direct. And now I live in the Rocky Mountain area / Midwest / almost West. They're pretty laid back here. So I need to learn maybe not to be so direct because it might offend.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a constant, self-growth to maybe not say the first thing that's on my mind, or to give it a pause and say, yeah, or maybe not send that email, maybe reread it and send it the next day. So that's always a good little tip. If there's something that's got you heated, I often will pen it out, or if we're doing it via email these days, and I'll give it a day, because unless there's been God forbid, a death or a terrible accident, it can wait.
Mm-hmm.
And I give it a good 24 hours so I don't regret anything. But, we're all a work in progress.
Mm-hmm.
And even in my more mature state, I could still grow. We're all learning and growing, right? Still doing it.
Exactly. And as an East Coaster as well, our edges are sharp. It's just how we are. I get it.
That's how we roll. Sometimes it's a little much for these little, the Rexons in the West. But yeah. Thanks, Lasheen. Thanks for backing me up.
I got you. Rhianna, I'd love for you to chime in as well.
Yeah, there's a couple tools that I've used in the past. We've done the 360 survey, which I think, you give it to your direct team, other business partners that you work with, your leader fills it out. So I think that that's a great tool to use to try to understand your blind spots and where you can focus on some self-development. So I saw a comment in the chat also that someone mentioned an Enneagram assessment, and my team recently did that. I think that was a great exercise in knowing the different personality styles. It helps with communication and feedback. So I think that was a great tool as well. One of the things that I continue to work on, there's a couple of them, like Paula said, we're always a work in progress, right? I have to make sure that I tend to go to the solution. I want to solutionize like right away. Like we identify a problem and I want to go there. But what that limits is that communication with the team and the people closest to the work. And so really been trying to focus on getting feedback from from the team members instead of going to direct solutioning. And also, I'm trying to listen more. I know Megan mentioned listening. That's very important, to sit back and listen, really take it all in. And that obviously helps with teamwork too. So yeah, that's what I'm working on.
Cool stuff. All right. So, at the end of the day, it's not as easy as simply saying, I want to gain leadership skills. To make your professional development goals meaningful, you have to put some thought into them, right? So any advice for our audience on mapping out actionable career goals? Megan, I'd love for you to kick us off.
So one of the things that I learned early on was SMART goals. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with those, but it's specific, measurable, obtainable, relevant, and timely. And so really having something that you can say, I'm going to reduce customer, let's say that's a bad example. I'm going to reduce cost by 10% by Q3. So something like a timeline on it, exactly what you're doing. And the other thing is really tying those back. So the other thing we do is we tie those back. We either have division goals or even group goals, and kind of tying those down the line to show the work that you're working on and how it's impacting the organization.
Yeah, and just to kind of add to what Megan said, oftentimes when we have these, performance and operational goals, one of the things that we also need is the development goal, and in working towards how you're going to achieve your career goals. And we need to make sure when we set goals that they're applicable to your end state, right? Not just setting a goal and checking a box. What value is it going to add to you getting to your career goals? And Paul, I think you were going to say something, so sorry if I jumped in.
Oh, no. Like I said, to piggyback on to what Megan and both you also just said is, I read a book, which I'll share later in some recommendation stages. And, to further dissect, we also try to do too many things at once. In addition to having SMART goals, focus on the wildly important and just pick a couple of things. Because if you try to do too many things at once, it's going to be a disaster. Everything comes up in our day in sales and claims and whatever else you're working on. At least it's pretty chaotic in an agency environment. So we know in a month period or 2-month period, if we're going to try to make important changes, pick 1 or 2. And then what you do is focus on something wildly important, and then do the lead measures, something that are actionable to help get you there, right? And then keep a scorecard. Are we achieving it? And then have a cadence of accountability. Make sure you don't let it go. Keep focusing it. Those 4 things, but just pick 1 or 2 things to help you get towards your goal, towards your end. And it's much easier to handle. And you'll find that you'll progress a lot easier and quicker than if you're trying to do so many things at once to try to make yourself get, it's not going to work.
I do have one thing to add there too. I think it's also being willing to change it. So like what you said, pick 1. I love that. We do that too. But I think it's, things change so dramatically through the year. Like look at the pandemic and the impact that's had, and being willing to say, okay, this goal isn't exactly going to work out, and how can I change it, and what can I do differently? So I think that's an important step as well.
Be flexible, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
No one knew, I really was proud of my manager during COVID, because he had been preaching like, look, we need to get digital. Like, you can't always come to your office. What if you want to work from the beach? And I'm like, oh, I was the first one to take advantage of that. So you got us, I wasn't a cheapo. I bought laptops for my team because I figured snow days, we have snow days in Colorado. So we were already hooked up to handle working from home. So when COVID struck, guess what? We didn't miss 1 minute. Because I said, guys, bring your laptops home or go to the office and get your laptops. And we didn't miss a beat. So you've got to also pay attention to trends. And like you said, be flexible, Megan, you're right. Like be be agile, be ready to take whatever comes on and be ready to adapt your plan. Try to get team members that are adaptable, because we all know we got those members that are pretty set in their ways. And it's like, come on, you're going to come on the bus with us. And, you do what you can to bring those people along. But as they retire or, move on to other positions, if you could fill your bus with people that are adaptable, boy, does that make that life easy, if you're a manager.
For sure. Definitely hear you on that. So look at that. We are getting questions from the audience. So let's take some of these. Let's see. So someone is asking, how do you determine how someone is motivated? Do you ask them directly or observe? What are you using to determine the best way to manage their motivation? Megan, do you have any insight?
I can answer what I do. So honestly, I ask them, because I think a lot of times we make the assumptions of what motivates somebody, and it may be totally wrong. And I think that goes for even recognition. Like, how does someone like to be recognized for what they do? How do they get motivated? We just have that conversation. Like, what motivates you? What can I help? How do I help make sure I can get them there? So definitely asking them. I think observing is there's nothing wrong with that, but I think sometimes your assumption might be different than what the real motivation is. So I think it's great to ask them.
I'd agree. Anyone else?
I'll go. I think it really is important to have a combination of the two. Anyone that you're managing, you should be setting yearly goals, for both personal and professional development, and know what their end plan is. Do they want to own an agency someday, or do they want to manage an agency someday? So you have to understand what their mutual goals are, and if they align with what their position is on your team. And so you should know what their goals are, I believe, yearly. And then you should have status checks. But then I also believe, if you're intuitive, you could sense if they are happy or not. I always knew before a person was going to leave that they were going to leave, or if it was time for them to move on to get a new position. So you got to be in tune with the observation and have the tools. If you're not that person, have the tools in place. Like you said, have the plan written down, have the monthly checks with them. Hey, are we on track? Are we meeting your needs? Not are they only meeting your needs, but are we meeting their needs? Yeah. So you're getting growth from them, as you're getting the best out of each other.
Absolutely. So cool thing here is my next question kind of lines up with the next audience question. So I'm going to do a little bit of a combo of the two. The audience member asked, how much of the barely performing member is culture and how much is personal/professional inherent nature? And my question was, as a leader, you are responsible for your own career growth as well as the encouragement of others. How do you motivate your team members to develop their knowledge and skills? Rhianna, I'd love for you to kick us off.
Yeah, these are all really great questions. Sometimes when we're in a team setting or even a one-on-one setting, you can talk and ask, what they're interested in. Sometimes you have those folks that volunteer for everything, right? But we as leaders have kind of an obligation to identify what we might see in someone that they don't see in themselves. And so how can we help them grow in their current role or aspire to a different role? And I think that one of the things that we can do as leaders is create those opportunities to give them that experience and that knowledge. So one of the things that I've done in the past is with some of my team members, when there's been projects or committees or initiatives that need to be rolled out and they just have an opportunity to learn a new skill, I'll ask them to join the meeting, listen, learn, see how the conversation goes. Is this something that interests them? Is this something that they are passionate about? Is this something they can get excited about? So I think it's one way that we can motivate is to see something in them that they don't see in themselves.
I love that so much. Paula, any insight?
I think that's excellent, Rhianna. And I think to piggyback on that, I often think that we as a society are very quick to judge people, right? Oh, they're non-performers. Oh, they're, they don't like to do that. But I don't think we often take the time to necessarily peel back the layers and see what it is that motivates that person. Why are they disengaged? Why are they disgruntled? Why are they non-performing? There's got to be answers. And I think if you are the manager, if you're the leader, I think you owe it to yourself and them to find out why it is that they are the way they are, or what's stopping them or from engaging, and then maybe if you could just delve a little deeper, if they'll allow. Everybody's motivated by something, right? And if not, they're either severely depressed, and maybe you can recommend, I'm not even kidding, and I'm not being tongue in cheek, counseling or, services like that, because everyone has got something. So you've got to find out what it is that motivates them and give them special projects or get them engaged in some aspect and then show how they contributed to the team. They might not have done it in a group setting, but and find out how they like to be rewarded, and then give them what they need to hear, the praise, the management, whether it's via email, whether it's an actionable thing, whether it's privately. I think it's your responsibility. If they're just a bad egg, maybe it's time to find a new team member. I mean, I don't want to give up on everybody, but you got to know when to cut your losses if you've got profitability that you need to do in your organization. Or I don't know what business that the person that asked the question is in, but that you got to take a deeper dive. But
Get that.
Sorry, Megan, go ahead. I think you were.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was just going to add a little bit to what Paula just said. I think we have some folks that we need to identify their motivation. I think right now in the remote work environment, there's been a lot of discussion around burnout, right? And how can we pull those folks, how can we help them and pull them out of that burnout stage and get them motivated again? And I think all of the things that we've been talking about will help. And Megan, I'm sure you're going to.
Yeah, actually, so what you said, Rhianna, is very much what I do as well. Like, have that conversation, find those opportunities. One of the things that was done recently within the division I'm in is we sat down and they asked you, what do you want to do? Here's all the new opportunities coming up. Where do you want to be? And in the past, sometimes they put oh, well, this is the experience you have, so you can only do X, Y, Z. But they didn't do that this time. Instead, they said, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And what was interesting is so many people, including myself, said, hey, I want to do something different. Like, I want to take on something totally new. And that would mean, having to learn new skills and have, training and different opportunities. And you might not know the whole job going in, but you gave them that opportunity. And so that was really motivating for them, because without that, they're still kind of in the same job and they're not, like, they're doing their job and it's fine, but they don't have that passion as if taking the time to say, where do you want to be in the future and how can I get you there?
Again, it's that communication too, and that, hey, that's so important. You got to be in touch with your team members.
Yeah.
Make sure they're engaged. Engagement is so important. And also, I mean, I know it's a little rougher if you're completely, totally remote, but now that some of the COVID restrictions have been lifted, I mean, try to make it fun again. Like, if you could meet after hours or happy hour, or if not even that, meet at the park, do CrossFit together. I don't know, like, try a bunch of different things and see who shows up when, and have a bunch of different things planned, because I think you got to bring back the fun again, because, you work to live, you don't live to work. And if you could kind of make it a hybrid and make it fun to be at work and you really love your job, that's great. What a win-win, right? So I think we all strive for that.
Absolutely. Anybody suggests a karaoke night, I'm going. So just so we all know.
I'll be your backup singer.
Yes. Let's see here. Now, is there a way to recognize when a peer or member of your team may benefit from professional development support? Like, how do you approach that conversation and go about giving feedback to others, Megan?
So for me, I think one of the key things is really the timing of it. Like as it happens, as you see it, as you know, sometimes people come and tell you about situations as well. You approach it right away. Like you have to be clear. You need to be honest and help them realize, you know, how maybe they're being perceived, because sometimes people have no idea how they're coming across. And so really giving that feedback. One of the things that came up with me was there was a situation where I was giving feedback and we did it face to face multiple times, and it just seemed like it wasn't getting through. And I couldn't figure out why at first. But then I sent it via email, and somehow that method triggered something totally different. And the response was totally different, to the point where the person quickly changed the way they were doing things and improved very quickly. But, you know, having those multiple ways of providing the information, and I would say, but mostly like making sure you're doing it right away and you're very clear with examples.
Paula, what do you think?
I agree. And like documentation is key, especially if there's a skill, like say if I have a team member, we need to document, you know, we could be sued basically if we're not providing services to our clients and things like that. So we have to document every interaction. And, you know, we all have like 25 to 30 things that we need to get accomplished in one day. And so the list might drop to the next day because you're waiting for underwriting to get back, or you're waiting for claims to get back to you. And so your list need to go on and on. So say someone's not really good at prioritizing, or they're really not good at documentation. So, you know, it's not necessarily a character. I mean, it's not a character blow. It just might mean that they need some organizational skills, or they need an Outlook class, or they need a class to help learn the software better, right? So what you do, what Megan said, you know, have your documentation, but I would always start out with positive, like, oh my God, you're so great with the customers. Your interaction, you know, they love you. They ask for you versus me and I'm the agent. You know, I always start off with some really great positive things and great things that they do. Say, but you know what, you know where we could use a little bit of expertise. And I think this might be great for you is American Families offering this advanced Apex class. I think it would benefit you. Let's try to get you on that schedule. You know, just tons of classes, or if there's even outside of the company, if you find there's something that could help that person, prioritization class, or good speaking and listening skills class, problem solving classes, you know. I've often gone outside of our company to send one of my reports or one of my team members to something if I felt it would benefit them for personal growth.
Tremendous. I love it. So I think we should take another question from the audience. And the next one that I see is, what is the best piece of advice you have received or given that has helped you or your team grow? Rhianna, you have any thoughts?
Yeah, there's a couple of pieces of advice. I think the first one that has helped growth for myself and my team members as well is just to know that every day is an interview. It's how you interact with people. It's how you handle yourself. It's how you take initiative. It's how you kind of work through the day-to-day that people are going to see. So every day is an interview. I think that was something important that someone told me at one point. So the other thing is just to make sure that you have an advocate for you. So when you're not in the room, someone else is going to speak up for you and say, you know what, Megan's going to be great for this project. And or she'd be great to lead this initiative. I think having an advocate when you're not in the room is very important as well.
Spot on. Absolutely agreed there. So, with busy work and life schedules, it can be difficult to find time for self-reflection, to think about who we are, our strengths, our weaknesses, our habits and values. And in those times, it can be great to lean on your network, whether that's managers, peers, clients, friends, or family. So how do you go about seeking feedback from others? And Rhianna, I'd love you to kind of keep going with that.
Yeah, I think it's important to make sure that you set a stage that's comfortable for everyone. So I have no problem asking for feedback. I'd love to hear it, good, bad, whatever it is. But making sure that when folks give you that feedback, that you take it in a manner that you're going to be productive with it. You won't get angry. It's constructive. It's only to help make you better and grow. And so making sure that you have that trust between whoever's giving you feedback, whether it be a peer or a mentor or a family member or friend, just making sure that you take it as constructive and you can grow from it. One of the things that, I always ask my team, what can I do differently? How can I help you? If I see something's on their mind, I'm like, just shoot it to me straight, just tell me, but making sure that you have that comfortable environment where you can accept it. Oftentimes at the end of the day, when I reflect and think, oh, I could have done that differently, I'll just ask, hey, what did you think? Could I have approached it differently? And sometimes it's no, and sometimes it's yes. And it only helps.
Absolutely. Megan, what do you think?
I think for me, it's very similar. I really am a person who wants that feedback as well. So I will seek out, my leader. I'll ask regularly, like, anything I could do differently. But also peers and just people I've worked with throughout the organization, trying to make sure that I'm always seeing things that I don't see and finding ways to learn and grow. And so for me, like, it is that where they're like, oh, it's great. It's like, okay, well, I know there's not everything's perfect. So, like, help me find something that I can improve on and do differently to make your job easier, or just make things go better. So definitely always asking for regular feedback myself.
Good. I love that. So, how has American Family Insurance fostered your growth as a leader? Like, how does the company's culture support employee development? I want to jump back over to Rhianna real fast.
Yeah, so American Family provides us with great tools to help with our development. It's a very inclusive organization. They promote diversity as well. And with that, there's a lot of either leadership development courses. They provide opportunities to go to conferences like Women in Leadership. I think the inclusive culture that we have also gives opportunity for us to, even in a current role, like maybe do a job rotation or learn a new skill in a different area. They put on a couple of events where we have an opportunity as leaders to interact with leaders across the organization, from every department, from every operating company. So it really tries to build that network to help. So when something does come up or you have a question, you can reach out to someone that you've already met with. So, yeah.
Great. Paula, what do you think?
Ditto. Like, I've had a role as an agent in American Family. I've been in management for American Family, and I did jump back to agency, but I truly, truly believe that they care about women and minorities in this company. And I know I saw it on a tweet. They're a progressive company, which I was really surprised. I mean, my last company was a Japanese company and they were great. But let's just say in the women aspect, they weren't so fantastic. And so, seeing, our former leader, Jack Salzwedel, he was amazing with promoting women and minorities and wanting diversity. And so they've made great strides in those areas. Can it be better? It can always be better. But I believe they actually made a pledge by like 2030. Don't quote me on this because I have to go look back in my Twitter feed, but it was soon. It was like in the next very soon years that they were going to try to make our organization 50-50, which is shocking. But I was very, very proud of that. So they do have ample opportunities, whether it's American Family Corporate, or for me, I'm an agent. We're independent operators, 1099, but we're really are striving to make our agencies more indicative and reflective of what the U.S. population is. And I was doing continuing ed. This will blow your mind. We have to get continuing education classes every 2 years to maintain our insurance licenses. Mm-hmm. And the last class I took, I thought I was going to die. And again, don't quote me on this statistic either, but it was something like over 60 or 70% 67-year-old white men in insurance agents. And I was blown away at that statistic, because I want to grab like every 20 and 30-year-old I see, whether it's male, female, white, brown, black, yellow, whatever, and say, man, get into this. I wish I had found it in my 20s. By your 30s and 40s, you're set. You're, the captain of your ship. If it's for you, Rhianna, like you said, it's not for everyone. It's not everyone's cup of tea. But if you're an entrepreneur, if that's your angle, I wish my daughters in their 20s were interested in it, but they got to find their own path. Mm-hmm. They don't want to do what mama did. Maybe they will someday when they get smart. Or maybe they have to do the corporate, I did corporate America for 21 years and realized I want to work for myself. I don't want to see the Peter principle happening at my former companies. I'm not saying it happens at my current company, but I'm like, I know I'm smarter than half those people, and they're running the damn organization. Like, I want to be my own boss. I want to hire and fire. I want to make my decisions. And maybe I didn't have the maturity back then. Mm-hmm. So maybe I had to find that path, because we're all growing, right? So yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Love it. I really do. Yeah. Megan, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Sure. So for me, I think what you do is really what sets the culture. So the actions you take is the culture you're going to see. Mm. And one of the things that I see within my within our division is really being a continuous learner. Like, that is just part of our culture. That's who we are. An American Family has given me a ton of opportunities through all my different positions in all aspects of my career to be a continuous learner. As a leader, I think some of the things I enjoyed that we did recently was really they had executive coaching, which talked about like the power of trust and psychological safety and leading like a coach. But what was nice about that is they pulled in leaders from across the organization, and you could have that conversation with other people and talk about how they approached it. So you really learn from real world experience. Mm-hmm. But I mean, to me, I think like American Family and the culture that we have, it's about empowering, it's about learning, it's about being you.
Love it. I love it. So we do have another question from the audience. Any advice for someone looking to move up into their first management position? Is there anything you wish you knew earlier in your career or when you started leading people yourself? Anyone can answer.
Actually, getting a mentor. So I wish I had known that earlier. Like I said, I was at a Japanese company when there was about 4 other women of the thousands. So I really didn't get that opportunity. But if you can find a mentor either within your industry, we didn't have LinkedIn back then. Mm-hmm. And you've got LinkedIn. There are so many tools within whatever position that you want to be in. See who's in it. See who's doing it then, whether it's not your company or a parallel company, and try to find yourself a mentor. There's some old person like me out there that will try to help you and guide you and say, boy, I wish I had a me back. What I know now, like I wish I knew then what I knew now, or whatever that saying is. Mm-hmm. That could be very helpful, because they can help you avoid maybe some pitfalls that you hadn't thought of, or some missteps. And they can encourage you and give you some good advice to how to obtain that position. If either within the company, without the company, via LinkedIn or something like that is a good advice, I think, is to get a mentor too, to help you achieve your goals.
Yeah, and I would like to add just a couple of things to that, Paula. One, just go for it. You're never going to be 100% ready. Like in the back of your mind, sometimes like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready. You're ready. So go for it, because that little voice will get you every time.
And by the way, there was some other statistic that, forgive me, Lasheen, but when there's a job posting, men's like, I could do that. Men are like, oh yeah, I could do that. And it's the job up, right? But women are like, oh, I don't meet every single criteria for that. I'm not perfect at it all. Guess what? No one's perfect at it all. And don't worry about imposter syndrome. So many women have that problem. It's like Rhianna said, go for it. They'll quite often a company, if there's a new position, they've got to teach you how to do things their way. Have the confidence in yourself. If you know you're a quick study, if you're a quick learner, or even if you're not a quick learner, if you're a hard worker and you'll put in the work to do what it takes, have the faith and belief in yourself is what Rhianna's saying. Take that dive. And guess what? If it doesn't work out, you can go do your old job again or land somewhere else. Like, go out on that ledge, make yourself uncomfortable. That's where the huge growth explosion comes from. Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
To your point, Paula, I'm glad you said that the stats you said earlier about men versus women with applying, because when I talk to my clients here at Fairygodboss, sometimes I explain to them that our research has shown that men will apply for a job if we hit 60% of the criteria. We'll be like, yeah, why not? Whereas women, from what we've seen, have to be 100% or they're not going to apply. So yeah, I'm with you on that. Like, that shouldn't be the case. It really shouldn't be, because you don't have to hit 100% of the qualifications to do an amazing job. Just have the faith in yourself and take the leap.
Like Rhianna said, go for it. What's the worst that could happen? You don't get it. Oh well. What is your pride injured? Suck it up. Put on your big girl panties.
She said it to me.
It's like the blunt coming out of me. I'm sorry.
I do have another question. As we're winding down a bit, is there something, anyone can answer this one? Is there something you do in your spare time that helps you thrive in your professional life?
I can. Oh, go ahead, Rhianna. Oh, I was going to say, for me, I think being a foster parent has really changed my perspective on things. So it allows you to see things in a different lens. So, there's different situations and different cultures and different backgrounds that all come in, and having a different view on things has helped me not only in my professional, but also from a parenting perspective. When kids are maybe being mean to other kids at school, and understanding that, their home life might not be the exact same as yours, and just giving a different perspective to help people look at things differently. I think that for me has been a big game changer. I always say there's a whole nother world that exists that people don't know about from being a foster parent. But I think really just having that openness to see things in a different way, and understanding that, everyone looks at things differently, and that's okay.
Absolutely. Anyone else want to chime in?
Well, I kind of go about it the same way. I mean, everybody doesn't have the opportunity, but put yourself in not the same old situation. Like in my former life, like I said, at my former company, I would go eat with the engineers. I don't want to go eat with the salespeople. I know what they're going to say. I would go eat with the engineers every day at lunch. God forbid I learned something. Or, meet a different group of people, volunteer at somewhere else. Like Megan said, expose yourself to as many different things in life as you can, because then you'll absorb so much more, and it'll make you so much wiser when you're approaching any situation. Get out of your comfort zone, get out of your world that's here, and try to make your world here, right?
I love that so much. One final question. Let me see here. Quick responses for this one. Is there a book, podcast, or resource you'd like to recommend to our audience that has helped you in your self-development? Whoever wants it, take it.
I can kick that off. Here most recently, my team and I have been on a Simon Sinek kick. We did start with why, find your why, and then our next one is leaders. I think it's leaders eat last, if that's right. So that's the most recent one. I've also I do a lot of self-reflection at night and I look on Twitter and LinkedIn, right? And I'm like, oh, what are some, I get these sayings and these quotes, and Adam Grant has some great ones, and Mel Robbins is wonderful. I think the one thing that has stuck with me that she said in one of her little videos, she does a number of podcasts and audibles, but was what's meant for you will not miss you. So I've always said everything happens for a reason, right?
Yep.
But she kind of spun it and said what's meant for you will not miss you. And so I've been thinking a lot about that lately, which I think is a good statement.
Absolutely. Anyone else quickly want to name drop?
Well, based on those, I hate to do a boring work one, and I wish I had something inspirational right now. But as far as getting your goals executed, one that it was introduced to me prior, but also at American Family, was the 4 disciplines of execution, and it was showing you, and it's by Chris McChesney, Sean Covey, and Jim Hewling, the Covey people, 7 habits of highly effective people. But it was showing you how to focus on those couple of goals, how to get there, the steps you need to take, the little things to help you achieve your big goal, and the accountability, and that'll help you focus.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to get your goals met because you just feel like you're not getting anything accomplished, that was very helpful, actually. Oh,
well, there you go. Perfect. 4 disciplines of execution.
Wait, there we go. Sorry.
Got it.
There you go.
I did want to just cut you off really quickly because I wanted to thank you, Megan and Rhianna, for joining us today and for sharing such fantastic advice. And thanks to all of you who tuned in for the discussion. As a reminder, folks, we'll be sending out a recording of today's event along with resources to learn more about opportunities at American Family Insurance. The American Family Insurance team is proud to be filled with difference makers, life changers, and dream champions. Bring your dreams and they'll help you achieve them. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you all next time. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.